Over the last several months, an intense Israeli bombing campaign has consistently targeted military infrastructure within the capital of Iran. In major global conflicts, there is a historical understanding regarding capital cities. Every capital has a designated diplomatic zone, a specific neighborhood where foreign ambassadors and their staff reside. These areas are traditionally viewed as neutral ground, even during active hostilities. That understanding was challenged when a recent Israeli missile strike detonated in the heart of Tehran's diplomatic sector, hitting a target located directly adjacent to the Pakistani embassy. This proximity strike placed the diplomatic staff of a nuclear-armed nation directly within the combat zone of a regional war they had otherwise avoided. The event triggered immediate alarm within the embassy. Within hours, Pakistan's state-backed think tanks issued a formal response that shifted the tone from diplomatic concern to a direct threat. Islamabad released a statement using unusually aggressive language, warning Israel that if any Pakistani diplomats were harmed anywhere in the world, they would beat the hell out of Israeli forces. The rhetoric is significant given the geography. These two nations share no common borders and are separated by multiple countries and thousands of kilometers of airspace. The escalation leaves observers to weigh the actual weight of the threat. Is this a credible promise of nuclear-backed retaliation, or a strategic display of anger from a nation feeling increasingly cornered? To understand Pakistan's stance, we have to look at the specific comparison drawn in their warning. They explicitly stated, "Pakistan is no Qatar." This refers to previous Israeli operations in Doha. After targeted strikes in the Qatari capital, the government's response was largely diplomatic rather than military. By drawing this distinction, Islamabad is signaling that they will not remain passive in the face of a perceived violation of their sovereignty. However, the physical reality is difficult to ignore. Nearly 3,000 kilometers separate the nations. While Pakistan's Shaheen-3 missile has the required range, executing a strike across multiple airspaces and advanced defense networks remains a massive operational challenge. For Pakistan, the barrier isn't just the flight path's physics, it's the immense technical difficulty of penetrating Israeli defenses from half a continent away. We track the changing balance of power through the Global Firepower Index, providing a quantitative look at both nations' conventional military strength. The data shows a widening gap. Pakistan has dropped to 14th globally, while Israel climbs steadily, buoyed by investments in domestic tech and high-end acquisitions. This gap is most visible in the air. Israel operates a growing fleet of F-35 stealth fighters, while Pakistan remains reliant on older platforms, lacking advanced electronic warfare capabilities. Furthermore, Pakistan's primary F-16 strike asset is tied to strict U.S. end-user agreements. Israel could leverage its Washington influence, causing a sudden cutoff of spare parts required to keep the fleet mission-ready. While Pakistan maintains its nuclear deterrent, their conventional forces are increasingly outmatched and dependent on foreign supply chains that Israel can influence. Beyond the hard data, the relationship is defined by a deep institutional history of mistrust, often fueled by fears of Israeli intelligence operations. This tension was demonstrated in 2016 by former Pakistani Defense Minister Khwaja Asif. Asif issued a public nuclear warning to Israel based entirely on a fabricated news report he found on social media. The incident illustrated how quickly the two nations can reach a flashpoint based on misinformation. Today, this fear has evolved. Pakistani officials frequently warn of a long-term Zionist plan to isolate Pakistan and eventually reduce it to a vassal state, allowing regional rivals to gain more influence. For the Pakistani leadership, the threat from Israel is viewed as an existential ideological struggle that outweighs immediate military logic. Looking toward the 2035 to 2040 horizon, geopolitical trends suggest that Israel's focus will expand beyond its immediate neighbors. As the regional map shifts, Israel's long-term strategy will likely prioritize the neutralization of the only remaining nuclear-armed missile program in the broader Middle East. This campaign would begin in international bodies like the United Nations, with Israel seeking to frame Pakistan's missile program as a threat to global stability. If the tension escalates into a physical conflict, it is unlikely to involve ground troops. Instead, it would be an asymmetric engagement fought with long-range assets and cyber warfare. In this scenario, Israeli tactics focus on surgical strikes against command centers, prioritizing the elimination of military leadership like Asim Munir to paralyze the response. The recent proximity strike near the Tehran embassy suggests that the diplomatic safe zones of the past are eroding. We are entering an era of direct friction between a declining nuclear power and a rising technological one.